Norma? The City Council LRA Board meetings for the city of Riverbank is now in session. Today is Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. It is 6 p.m. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain.
Let's pray. Father God, we just come before you this evening. We thank you for this opportunity to gather here in these chambers, Father, for the business of Riverbank. And I'm asking, Lord, that, Father, that we just take a moment and just show our gratitude for this council, Lord, who has Riverbank's best interests at heart, and also this opportunity as a platform for the community to share concerns. And Lord, I just pray, Father, for unity. God, I pray that you protect this community from anybody coming in to do business that doesn't have the people in mind. Lord, that you would give us wisdom in our decision making. And at the end of the day, Lord, we know that we're walking away from here doing our part to make this a better.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Here.
Councilmember Jones Cruz. Here. Councilmember Barbara Martinez. Here. Councilmember Hernandez. Mayor O'Brien.
Here. There will be no changes to the agenda. Any conflict of interest for staff or council, please declare at this time.
I believe I have a conflict of interest for 11.2.
No other conflicts? At this time, I will take public comments. Public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LRA Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Public comment, please.
Several times. I live at 7824 McHenry Avenue. I'm here to talk against the Riverwalk project again. Just trying to keep it in front of you guys, in front of your minds, that we know that EIR is coming out, IER, environmental EIR is coming out here in anytime. So please look at that carefully. It's just such precious land down there. You know, the hawks have been out lately, and the coyotes have been running across my orchard, and it's just such pristine, beautiful land. So please, let's not jump way out there and build, 3,300 homes at this time, maybe some many years in the future, but just now doesn't seem to be the right time. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment?
Public comment on Zoom, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move forward to the consent calendar consisting of item 9.1, waive readings, 9.2, approval of the January 24th, 2023 City Council LRA Board minutes. Item 9.3, a resolution adopting the by reference Fair Political Practices Commission Title II, Division 6, California Code, Sections 18730 and 18730.1, the 2023 Conflict of Interest Code list of designated city positions and related economic interest disclosure categories. Item 9.4, resolution declaring certain properties surplus as listed in Exhibit A and authorizing its disposition. Item 9.5, a resolution to award bid for the Claus Road curb and sidewalk project to Hensley Paving and General Engineering, Inc., and authorize execution of future change orders. So
So we do have, Mayor, one change on item number 2, a correction to the minutes regarding item 12.1. We need to change that record to reflect the I votes were Jones Cruz and Barbara Martinez, Mayor O'Brien, and the nays were Uribe and Hernandez. And that the motion did carry with a 3.32 votes instead of unanimous.
Thank you. With that, changes, is there any consideration for the consent calendar?
The motion that we accept the consent calendar as stated with
I'll s-
correction.
And I'll second it.
For that, do we have any public comment on it? Anyone wishing? Okay, we have a motion to approve in a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor O'Brien.
Yes. New business, item 11.1, a resolution appropriating funds for the 2022 Cheese and Wine Festival.
Mayor and City Council, Sue Fitzpatrick, Director of Parks and Recreation, will provide the staff report on this item.
Mayor, members of the council, as you know, over the past 8 years, we've overseen the Cheese and Wine Festival, contracting out to a organization. And for the first 6 years, we did pretty well. We were able to purchase the festival from the Rotary Club for 15,000 out of the revenue that we generated, and we had excess to roll over to the next festival. So we started off really well, and we never needed to tap into the general fund at all, which was our goal. This last year, unfortunately, as I mentioned at the November meeting, we didn't do well financially. There was a few things working against us. One is inflation. The other was sponsorships were down. People just weren't giving us the sponsorships that we counted on. We had a little bit of competition with the beer booths. I don't know why the beer didn't sell, but we didn't bring in the amount of money that we needed to for the beer booths. Marketing, we all know wasn't what it should be. And that affected the cheese and wine ticket tasting, which we count on that revenue as well. And then I think there was a little bit of lack of effort on the contractor's part where I think we needed to have our expectations met a little bit more with that performance. But with all that being said, we were 22,138 in the deficit, and we need to tonight ask a resolution to transfer that from the general fund to the cheese and wine account to make it whole. So that's the resolution that's before you.
Okay, are there any questions?
A question, but I'd like to make a comment. I kind of think that we changed from the draft or the, where you do the cakes to cans, and then it was the brand of the cans. And I think it was not just the flavor that everybody, had enjoyed in the past. And I think that was part of the problem, just those two things. And so I think that's another reason why the sales were down. Thank you.
Comments? Anyone from the public wishing to question Sue? We do all the time. Okay, saying none, I bring it back for the council's consideration.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11.1.
I second.
We have a motion to approve in a second for item 11.1. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hernandez.
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item 11.2, 2023 Cheese and Wine Festival options.
Mayor, Sue Fitzpatrick, Director of Parks and Recreation, will give the staff report. And just for the record, Councilmember Barbara Martinez will be stepping down from the dais for
Yes,
this
she
item.
will.
Okay, Mayor, members of the council. So tonight, I'm going to go through my presentation, and at the end, I'll talk about the options during my presentation, but at the end, I have it listed very clearly, so you'll be able to see them again. So what I mentioned at the November 8th meeting is for the 3 months until now, I've been working hard on just gathering people that do events, interviewing them, talking to them, and kind of getting a feel for the options, and one of them has dropped out that was a good candidate, but I think we've ended up with a couple good things to take a look at tonight. Oops, I'm not used to this thing. Okay, so one thing I wanted to just talk about for a minute about this festival, because now that I've overseen it for the past 8 years, I know there are a lot of challenges. It's a difficult festival because there's so many components. And if your revenue sources aren't there, there's no way we're going to meet the expenses. So some of the things that cause it to be challenging is inflation. Now, we didn't have in the past the requirement of fencing. The fencing is required now because we want to make sure we know who's coming in. And we have security guards with wands and all of that. So that causes a lot of extra expenses. Labor has gone up, the cost of the restrooms that we rent has gone up, advertising costs are higher. It's just more and more difficult for that revenue to be there as high to go ahead and cover those expenses. Did I do that? Oh. Okay. Sorry about that. Logistics, the cement blocks. Now we want to make sure that we don't have people driving through the festival. So we have the cement blocks. We purchased those, so we have them, but we still have to put those in place. And that's difficult because we have to rent something to transport those, and that's $1,000 for the Gradle. So the fencing, the street closures, cleanup, security, signage, all of those logistical things, city staff has pretty much done. Mainly because if we count on somebody else to do it, we end up fixing it. So it's almost easier to just say, we're going to do it from the beginning. So that's something that is challenging. The number of components, it has the cheese and wine component. It has the beer booths, the vendors, the stages, the entertainment. It is a lot, and it's overwhelming sometimes to whatever contractor that we're trying to convince to take over the festival. Trust in the contractor. We need them to be organized, focused, and motivated. And really, sometimes we don't know till midway through if they are really what we thought they would be. And then we, city staff, have to pick up the pieces. So we really want to make sure we try our best to pick the right contractor. There's always a risk to some extent. Limited city staff, how much oversight? While we're going through this, we have the aquatics program we're worried about. We have Jacob Myers Park management, which is huge. Now we've doubled our population out there. So we have other things that we're trying to think about, and to keep a real close eye like we need to on the contractor is difficult. So those are all the things I've just seen over the past 8 years that makes it a tough festival. Eventually. Okay, areas of focus. What I think we need to really focus on this year, if we move forward with the event, is logistics, more oversight, or perform in-house. Like I said, sometimes it's just easier to do that component by ourselves. Change of boundary map, I'll show you that in a little while. We have a couple ideas in mind. Council maybe can give us direction what your thoughts are. Improve the wine and cheese component, definitely. We're hoping that it was not good last year, and we're hoping that that image isn't going to stick, because we're going to have to market it that it's going to be new and improved and better to get people back. The increase in marketing, social media, banners, all aspects, marketing has to be better in order to make this event successful. On the financial side, increase reporting and city staff oversight each step of the way. And we had that with our first 6 years. We had everything going through us. We were the middleman for all of the subcontracts. Every check that was written came through us, and all the revenue came through us. Last year, we thought it would be better, bad decision, that to have the contractor handle that. And that way we're not the middleman. That was not a good idea, because we were caught off guard about the $22,000 deficit. If I would have guessed, I thought it would have been maybe 8,000 at the worst. So we need to have that go back through us every step of the way. Strengthen revenue sources and increase sponsorships. We need those revenue sources, or we aren't going to make the expenses. maybe budget 20,000 next fiscal year as a backup, just in case we're hit hard again with inflation and we don't know what the economy is going to do. Maybe we need to say, if this event is really important to the city, that we need that backup funding. We will try not to touch it, but just so that we know that might be what happens, and then we can reevaluate next year that maybe that's what it's looking like now, is just, it's so expensive to run. So looking at the boundary map ideas, this is how it was last year. So we started just beyond Second Street. We carried it all the way down to Sixth Street. And then we stopped with the fencing, and we had the car show in front of the community center and the cheese and wine tasting here. The mistake we made is people didn't feel that the community center events were part of the festival. They felt it was too fragmented. The good thing is we did have enough vendors to get all the way down, and that was kind of our goal. None of the residents complained. All that went really smooth, but you can see all the fencing. If we use this map again, I would suggest enclosing all the way, going to fencing to 7th Street. That way it feels like it's all together. That is a lot of fencing, and the fencing is really expensive. So that's why the second map that one of the contractors had an idea on is, what if we started right by the library at, is that 6th, 7th, 5th? Yeah. And then go all the way down. There's too many stages here, so don't pay attention to the stages, but all the way down, and then we would enclose around the community center, that whole property, and we would have the vendors around it. So it would give more of a feeling of a festival, and we wouldn't have as much fencing or territory to cover. My first thought when I was trying to figure all this out is I thought, let's grab the Antigua just in case we want to stay downtown, but they're booked. So that was out. So I think we have a choice between this map or this one. So just something to think about as we go along. I don't know, does anybody want to comment yet?
I'm going to agree with you on the map. Having it, have the separation there, it was so confusing as soon as you walk out. A lot of people didn't even know that the wine tastings, in the community center. So it did feel disconnected a little bit. So I definitely would like to see it enclosed with the whole event. Going from 4 blocks down to 3 makes a lot of sense. It did feel quite extended, but that was just my opinion. But I had a little 3-year-old, so trying to walk 4 blocks with her did take us a little bit. So just my first initial comments there on that one. Oh, I would like to just make quick. I think the event did take pretty big hit last year. I don't know if it's a possibility, maybe investing in some type of marketing. I think that's going to be huge, just so we can get that, just so we can have some type of bounce back and we can kind of recover from what it was last year. So yeah, but initial thoughts at the moment.
We had marketing problems because I didn't see much whatsoever. And we were assured that we were on track or ahead with sponsorship at one point. I think what we should do is take a look at milestones where you think you should be in the sponsorships. If they're not there, reduce the size. If they're not there, reduce the festival to a carnival, family atmosphere. And if we're going to do the cheese and wine, we just condense it, because I thought we were not only on track, but we were going to be making some money. And I didn't realize we were at a $22,000 deficit. If we're going to pay the vendor, we should withhold until we get the final bill and the after action report, because you're going to have to pay them for some of the effort, but a large portion of it until they have a satisfactory festival. My opinion, since we're not making a decision tonight, that's just a little bit of guidance on that.
I have a comment. I spoke to several downtown business owners, just kind of trying to get a feel of of how, what they thought about it. And then it was kind of interesting. I talked to 7 different individuals down here. 2 were all for moving it down to the other end. Yeah, move it. 2 were, they were okay with either way. And I had 3 that were very against moving it. They're like, we've invested a lot in the city here. And again, I'm just sharing information that I gathered because I thought we should probably, consider their voices too. They're kind of a big part of it. They're our downtown businesses. And the 3 were very boisterous about that they've invested a lot of money down here, and we could go on, and there's all different kinds of sides to it. But I had 3 that were very against moving it down away from downtown and downtown businesses, which I thought was kind of interesting because it was kind of all over the place. So, but that's what it is when you work with those folks too. They're kind of all over the place. So I thought I'd just kind of share that out there.
And I will echo the marketing aspect of it. We mentioned last year too, in language and ensuring that that is there. So maybe if, I don't know, I don't think we spoke about it before, but some sort of like marketing plan ahead of time so that we can get some timelines. I think it'd be very important.
Any more? Ready? Okay. Okay, so the options for contracts that we've come up with are Copper Rhino LLC. And this business owner is Les Knowles, I think. And he works along with a lady named Jill Ferris. And Jill worked with us doing the stages and things like that in the past. So we've contracted with her before. She's paired up with him, and they're this is their first time working together as far as something big like this, but they both have done events. Les has a lot of contacts. He owns 5 restaurant bars, so he has a lot of contacts with the beer and the wine people and all of that. They're pretty confident they can do the event and they could make us money. We'll go on with their proposal after. Another one is SMA Entertainment. SMA stands for Stephen and Michelle Alexander Entertainment, and they do a lot of things out in Stockton, a lot of the jazz festivals. They've done a lot of different festivals. He really wants this festival. He has wanted it for 3 years, and he is confident that he can get us better prices, market better, and he is excited about it. Lively Libations Event Services is a Riverbank business, and it's run by Jill Contreras, and she went to the festival last year, the Cheese and Wine Festival, and she was saying, oh my gosh, we got to fix this. So she had told our past contractor, hey, I'll help next year. And that's how I got her name and met with her, and she has some good ideas. She has a very professional business. They do a lot of events and things like that. She would only do the cheese and wine part of it. She's not able to do the entire festival. So Copper Rhino, their bid came in at 11,500 plus to give them an incentive, a 50-50 split of revenue over expenses at the end. And with this particular bid, like I had mentioned, the city staff pretty much does the street closures. This Public Works and Parks work together. The cement blocks, coordination with fire, police services, Jilton, financial oversight, some subcontracts, multiple meetings, oversight on the days of the festival. That's pretty much what we would do with all of the different bids, but just to kind of give you an idea. The next one was SMA Entertainment, and they have been in business for 11 years, by the way. And they came in at 15,000 if they were to oversee the whole festival. They feel comfortable doing the entire festival, but I don't see a lot of experience in the wine tasting part of it. Although they feel like they could pull it together. If they just did the festival, except for the cheese and wine component, it would be 13,000. They would also hold the ABC license over the whole entire festival. Lively Libations, they would just see the cheese and wine component if we wanted to do two contracts to where we had somebody really concentrating on the cheese and wine, somebody really concentrating on the rest of the festival. She has 20 years experience in the hospitality business. Her proposal is to coordinate the cheese and wine component of the festival, and the bid amount is 10,000. So definitely whichever way council would want us to go, we're fine with, whichever map we're fine with. But our recommendation is to go with Lively Libations for 10,000, just concentrating, because we know that cheese and wine component needs attention. And then going with SMA Entertainment because of their enthusiasm and their excitement about the whole thing, and their experience, for 13,000 with a total combined of 23,000 for the contracts. One thing that is kind of a thought I have is I don't know what the council and the community wants, because I think part of that plays into what we do. If we want a party atmosphere at the Cheese and Wine Festival, that's what everybody's used to. It's a big party, it's fun, and then I hear, but nobody knew about the cheese or the wine. Nobody really talked about it. So it's almost like if we went with Lively Libations, they are more of a upscale wine tasting. They're going to have people that know about the cheese, know about the wine. It's going to be a different atmosphere than the party. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are, or the community on what route we should go. If we truly want a cheese and wine tasting that is organized and has all those components that a cheese and wine tasting should have, this would be the way to go. If we want more of what we've had, a big party, everybody having fun, maybe not as much of the educational part of it. I don't know.
The first contractor from Stockton, they had how much? 13,000? And then you did a 50-50 split? Like
So it
last
would
year?
be 11,500
Okay, plus a 50.
plus the 50-50
So
split.
last year, if we did that, we would not have had any split because we didn't make any money.
That's correct.
So I would look at, you're the one who's going to make the contract. Okay, you're the one who will be, making the decisions. My advice would be you go with the one that did a great job in Stockton in those events. Have those brought here to ours, because you're going to have oversight no matter what. You know what to do. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you what to do, but my recommendation, look at it from a business standpoint of what would be your least liability with the possibility of most to gain. And I think that would be your number one choice. If you're going to add, take it apart and spend $23,000 up front with no carrot for an incentive, then you may be out to $23,000 like we were this year, 22. So up to you which way you want to go. I would also, before you make a decision on the map itself, get together with the police services and see what are the true needs for blocking off, or where would be the best advantage to block off. This was from the Gilroy Festival, the reason why we did what we did. And that was supposed to be for one time. And then with the threat assessment in the Fusion Center, you should be able to come on up with what do we really need. I would venture to say that you could lessen your security because the gates are porous anyway. You see people just walking through where the fences come together, but they're not tied together. They come and go through that all the time. So again, take a look at with the police services, what your true security measures must be. And then you come back and tell us what you're going to do. I'd rather be told what to do than try to dictate to you how to do your job.
So Mayor, just to give you some context on that, the feedback that we've received from the chief and police services over the course of the past couple of events that we've held, particularly the number of events that we held last year with the Centennial, was events that have an alcohol component to it tend to be a little bit more concerning to police services, which is why we went with the cement blocks. Yes, initially it was a discussion about sort of sheltering everybody and making sure everybody was protected because of what happened in Gilroy. Ultimately, a kind of a transition to a thought process of, well, we want to make sure that in events that have an alcohol component and that tend to be in residential areas such as this one, that we're adding that extra safety precaution to it, especially in the areas where residents are congregating the most. So the food areas, the stages, et cetera, which is where we tend to put the cement blocks. There are a couple areas that are just simply fenced. And it's mostly just to be able to have that control.
Well, for the fencing, the blocks itself, good for preventing vehicles coming on through. The fencing along the residential areas was so porous, it was like not having them there at all. So again, that's my recommendation. Look at it closely with the police services. And if you truly want no one to go through those gates, you have to figure out how you're going to secure the fencing. Because I know when we were watching the horse dancing competition, that gate was wide open, people walking through, and there was no need for the fencing in those areas. So I'm just, again, what is our threat? What's the best way to contain it? What you need minimal to what you need maximum? Again, that fencing is what you put in a lot of effort on, and their gates. Every one of them, when they come together, one is always open. So, and I understand the alcohol component. That's why I don't drink at those things.
I have
Norma,
another
Norma, can I have the
question.
screen back up on the choices? Because
So we are hoping tonight for you to give us some feedback and guidance. Ultimately, Sue will take that information and be able to come back with a complete picture of what the festival will be looking like, particularly when it comes to the consultant or contractor we'll be using, because we want to give them the go-ahead, like ASAP.
the sooner we start, the better. One thing just on the summary, these are the best options if the city wishes to continue the festival. There's an element, like I said, of risk with both. There are other festivals, if the city just says, you know what, this is maybe just too expensive to run, there are other things we can do in the future that we could create revenue and we can have downtown events without all these components. Parks and Rec is not, we're not used to dealing with alcohol. We do swim lessons and camps and all. So the alcohol component for us is difficult. Bringing it down a smaller scale is a lot easier. It'll still be a large event, but it wouldn't have that whole contacting at the winery, all those, that purchasing beer. We just aren't good at that. So we have to contract that out, but we could do other festivals ourselves. Just so, I need that screen back. Okay, so just to make it easier, oops, sorry. Keep going the wrong way. Okay, here we go. So this is just kind of so you can look what like, and it is a 50-50 split. That was wrong. So like Marcella said, if we get direction on the map, if at all possible, not that we have to have that tonight, but if at all possible, and a decision on the contractor, at least somewhat, then I can come back with the contract for approval, but at least we can get moving forward because we're really cutting it close right now.
I think the only thing I would like to add is, since there are so many components of it, do we have any idea of Copper Rhino LLC's staff, like how big they are?
Yeah, they have 5 restaurants and bars, and he said he has plenty. He has like 70 staff and he has a lot of staff. So
Okay.
his and the other one, SMA, he works very closely with about 20 volunteers, and he has the group that help him run all of the events they do. So
Okay.
what SMA said is they'd also tap into some of our community organizations and get them to buy into being involved. So because he's way out in Stockton, San Joaquin, he'd have to make some connections here as well.
Don't get me wrong, I think both are very capable option, we'll call it 1 and 2 there. I'm kind of leaning towards the SMA, kind of splitting it up and having one focus on one, having one focus on the other aspect. Even though it is going to be a little bit more costly there initially. And then as far as the map, I would like to see it go down to 3 blocks if possible, engulfing the whole community center. It's a great community center. We've pumped in a lot of money in there to make it look so nice. And then just the main stages, not having them so close. There's one on the far right corner if you pull up the map again, and then there's one like not even a half block down. That'll drown it out. So just keeping that in mind.
Which one of the companies, you only mentioned one was holding the liquor license. Do all of them, or would we at any point in time carry the liquor license for
Yes.
this?
So Lively Libations, they have all of the staff that have been trained in the ABC laws, but they can't get, because they're not a nonprofit, they can't get the ABC license. So it would operate, which SMA is perfectly fine with carrying the umbrella ABC license. So it would be under.
What about the Copper Rhino?
Copper Rhino has every,
They'd have their own. Okay.
and they don't really want to break off. If they do the event, they want to do the whole thing.
Thank you.
I agree with condensing it down to the smaller, more festival-like you were explaining map. And honestly, I was also leaning towards having it split up with 2 different contractors. And since we've gotten to the point where we're floating the idea of not doing the festival, and because it has a historical relevance, I feel it's worthwhile to, have 2 folks focus on it, on the important aspects of what the festival is.
By shortening it down to 3 blocks or even less than that, you're automatically eliminating the downtown.
Unless we got so many vendors that say we start at the community center and we just inch our way up and we end up back down here again already, that could happen, because the more vendors, the better, because that creates revenue for us, and also people love the vendors. So I mean, that could occur. We could end up with enough vendors to get us back down here.
And you have a children's section.
And I think it's technically 4, right? Because it wraps down the side of the community center where the pool is at, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, and then one more there, right? So it's technically still the 4, right? Or no? Kind of, in a sense.
One
1,
thing,
2, 3. And that just goes up to 3rd Street. And then you have the other side of 3rd Street and a little where you had the stage before that encompasses City Hall South.
I just feel strongly about our downtown. We've done so much. We're making such progress down here with the plaza across the way. It's beautiful. And to not use that as one of our resources, I kind of struggle with that piece. It's what we spend all that money for, and it's fabulous. And I just think we've made so much progress with our downtown and our downtown businesses, and it looks good down here, that I just would hate to not have that be part of this festival, to kind of showcase everything that's going on down here. A lot of times other folks don't get a chance to even come downtown except during the festival, and they don't get to see all the cool stuff and all the new businesses that are going on down there. Whether the businesses choose to participate or not is a whole nother thing. Some of them just like to close the doors because it's too much and too overwhelming for them. But we have some pretty amazing things going on down here, and I just would hate to see it not showcased for how fabulous and all the work that's gone into it. And that's on, thanks to you guys that are here before I am, that it is like it is. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, my consideration is you know what I want, the one that would take the entire one and assume a lot of the liability if it's not successful. And so that is a business decision, but if we want to have two to split it and risk, what is it, $12,000 above what the other has, then that's a risk that we're going to have a discussion about a year from now. So the vendors, again, I think that should be your, but you know, if we're here selecting, then you have my input. For the boundary, assume that you're gonna go from the community center, where the main stage is, from the pool, through the El Rio, you know, the park up here, through Third Street, and then scale it as you need to, based on talks with the police, based on you know, what you believe your revenue is going to be based on your vendors. You make a decision now, then you make that is a set in stone. Don't do that. You have to be flexible. Who knows? There may not be any interest in doing it. And we spent 23,000, but there may not be an interest in it at all. Someone else make a recommendation.
It kind of sounds like we're split in a way where two are very supportive of the change in the layout, two are looking to be a little bit more flexible. And then the possibility of looking at that fencing. I hope that the fencing doesn't preclude anybody from wanting to see the festival as it has been in the past. I know that's been a comment that we sometimes get on social media, or me having grown up here in Riverbank and seeing the festival from where it was prior to now, where it was, you know, 4 or 5 blocks and you just walked up and down the street and came and grabbed your hot dog or your, you know, Polish sausage and went about your way. We know that there's residents who want to get that feel back. So I hope that the cost of the fence isn't necessarily the detractor to that. I do see the comments about our downtown, you know, those are definitely comments that we should take into consideration. Our businesses have started to thrive down here, and this may be the one opportunity for residents to be able to have, you know, see what the business is going to be about. Sometimes you hear the name, for example, Black Sheep, and you may not necessarily know what that is, or Daily Dose or Get Toasted. So it is an opportunity for those businesses to get exposure as well. So perhaps what we're looking at is, as Sue is looking at vendors that are coming in, is that should we not get the amount of vendors that we need to be able to extend it all the way down to Third Street, then maybe it is more of a focus towards the community center. So it does feel like one festival.
Yeah, so I don't want anyone to think that I was trying to exclude the downtown businesses. That's totally not what me and Rachel were trying to impose. My big takeaway was, how do we encompass? Well, I know she's going to, Mayor, but I was just trying to speak there. But you know, I just want that feeling that the community center is part of it versus it just kind of being totally separate. And that's the feeling that not only I got, a lot of people got. Even being way down here, they didn't even know where to go. So just another idea. I think on the map, we had the car show on the south side of the community center, right? So can we possibly like not do that and move the car show in front of the businesses? Right? So that way it encompasses the whole thing and we don't have to worry about the south side of the community center. Just an idea, but you'll make
Something.
right. So, but I'll leave that into your hands.
One thing I do agree with Councilmember Hernandez is I would like to hold whoever we choose, the contractor, to the marketing plan and maybe come and present it to where we know that marketing is happening and we all feel good about it, because I know that's been a problem all along. I think I live in Ceres and I wouldn't have known about the Cheese and Wine Festival unless I work here. And I would hope we see it everywhere, you know? So I really feel that that is something that maybe we should hold and have them come and, you know, hold them to that, present a marketing plan.
Mary, what do we need to do? Is there enough guidance?
So I think there's enough guidance in terms of the feedback that we've gotten with regards to the contractor. I think the layout we can work on a little bit more. Normally what we would do is we would give you an update a couple of months prior to the event. And I think at that point in time, we'll have a really good idea about the number of vendors that we'll have, sort of rework with some of the comments that we received, you know, maybe shifting around some of the car show if it happens to work out, and some of the other areas to extend it back out and be able to keep that feeling that we've had about the event, and the size.
All right. I believe you have what we've added. Do we have anything from the public? Any comments from the public? We have one coming on up. You can make yours in staff comments, I believe, Donna. I know, I just learned that.
2005. So I've been a part of the Cheese and Wine Festival as far as the beer and wine sales. And I felt that last year we had two problems, big problems. So one was that that the businesses that sell alcohol were selling alcohol. So our sales were down because of that, because we've never been had that many of the downtown businesses that were part of it. And I feel like if we were to move the fencing, and then maybe I like the idea of having the car show on that side, and then people could, you know, if they want to visit the businesses, then that's fine. But as part of the festival, the beer and wine, I just saw that the sales were really, really bad because of the businesses. And the other thing is we also noticed that there was some sales of alcohol that is illegal with ABC. And if they had been there, they would have shut us down. An hour before the festival ends, you have to stop sales. So, because we're all licensed. And so that was one thing that I saw, that, you know, they continued to sell some of the, not the businesses, but there was some people that were, and I don't know, maybe they were from a business, but they were outside kind of in a little parking lot across from where we were, and we saw that they kept selling. I even went and told the officer, like, you know, they have to stop. And they told them, you know, because it was like about 20 minutes before the festival was going to end. So that could have caused like our whole city a problem, because if someone had been there from ABC license just checking up on us, and they would have saw that, that could have been a big issue. But as far as them being within that business and purchasing alcohol, there wouldn't have been a problem. But they were outside in a parking lot in an open fence, because the fence went around the back of where they were. That seemed like they were part of the festival. So if they're part of the festival and they're doing that, do you see what I'm saying? That could have caused our city a big problem. So with that said, you know, I hope to be a part of it again. And I also think that if we move it towards the community center, I saw what you saw, the big disconnect. And the fact that it might not have been so bad on Saturday, because the car show was in front of the community center on Saturday and people were going down to see the cars. But on Sunday, when I walked down there was nothing in front of the community center. So I saw the big disconnect, and I think it is a good idea to include the community center if that's where we're going to do the cheese and wine. I like to see more cheese vendors. We have nothing. I mean, you know, I could think of some people that we could ask to, you know, try to get in there to sell some cheese. And I do know that there is not enough educational things for the kids. They don't know where the cheese comes from. They don't know how it's made. So I could think of a couple of places that we could also maybe try to get involved in, you know, educating the kids. Okay.
Donna Kenny, Planning and Building Manager. I would like council to consider purchasing some fencing. Maybe not enough to take care of all Sue's needs for the Cheese and Wine Festival, but she does have other events. And I personally, as a supervisor for code enforcement, have had to lease fencing in at least twice in the last 2 years for health and safety reasons when a house is burned down, and it's taken weeks to get fencing to make it safe for the neighbors. So I think in the long run, Sue would save money every year if we had some fencing. She could supplement with some lease fencing. It might be available for code enforcement to use for a couple of months when Sue isn't using it. And you would get the quality of fencing that you wanted that wouldn't be able to just be walked through by people. Thank you.
No other comments, bring it back. And Sue, do you feel comfortable?
Yes, one comment on the fencing. That's kind of what I said. Sometimes it's easier if we do it ourselves. If our guys put the fencing up, it will be secured everywhere. We were running after areas trying to fix it, and that's a lot harder. If they set it up early in the morning, they will make sure all those are secured. So.
Right? Thank you very much. So you're set too, Marisol?
There's nobody on Zoom that would like to speak, so I think we're set on our direction.
Okay.
And we will be coming back with the contract for the contractor that we will be using, as well as at a future date with an update once that contractor is able to begin work and generate, start generating revenues for us.
Would you do us a favor and get Darlene? Thank you. I missed my cutoff time.
Close.
All right, thank you. And staff comments, please.
Just wanted to remind everyone that City Hall will be closed this Monday due to the President's Day holiday. And in addition, we are hiring for a full-time administrative clerk in recreation. Should anybody know anybody who's interested, please have them go onto our website at Riverbank, www.riverbank.org for applications. And we also have those here in our offices. And residents can also be on the lookout for 3 different positions that will be coming up within the before the end of the week within our Public Works Department.
Thank you. Any other staff comments? Seeing none, bring it to the council. Council member Leanne Jones Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a chance to attend the California League of Cities Conference for new council members and mayors. I attended the ethics training, that's a requirement, but also sat in on a couple other workshops that were very valuable. So I think it was well worth my time to attend that last week. I will be meeting with department heads starting next week to kind of catch up on new current projects. And I think I already shared with you what downtown folks wanted to share. So I'm good to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Uribe.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Thank you.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
I attended an electronic vehicle event last month, and I had the chance to drive an EV vehicle. I learned a lot about charging stations, both in the home and also charging stations that we are planning to have here in our city. And then also I attended the Homeless Summit presented by the Office of Education. And this presentation that was presented was about recognizing and assisting and helping our students that are homeless, and also prevention strategies. It was very informative. They had a youth panel and they talked about their lived experiences being homeless and how we can help everyone that finds themselves in that kind of situation. And then, let's see, I have a quote, of course, and I'll give it to you real quick. It is a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. And it states as people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. And I just want to let everyone, just to remind people that there are plenty of opportunities for us to get to know each other. There are plenty of volunteering activities with our nonprofit organizations that have a lot of service projects. So get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Just a couple things. A few of the staff and Councilmember Barbara Martinez, we did the point in time count. Every year around the same day, the whole county goes out and does a physical count of those who are sheltered and unsheltered dealing with homelessness. And so we can get some idea of the need in our communities and as well as be able to report some numbers to the state. So typically that comes out pretty quickly. I don't think we've seen those numbers yet. And I attended a state economic impact presentation. The numbers are on their website, but it gave us a glimpse of the universities, which is my alma mater, impact qualitatively and quantitatively in the area. So that is it.
Thank you. Thank you very much on all of it. For the legal, I'm still waiting for the downtown absentee ordinance that I've been promised. It's now been 3 years. I think it's long enough. So if I can have it within 6 weeks. Okay, thank you. I know we're working on the Riverwalk EIR. The sooner that is out, the better it is. So we can move the process one way or the other. I have no opinion on one way or the other. Let the EIR and discussions bring that up. I would like to have an update on our homeless housing situation. I know that we may have some problems with the Sierra House I'm not aware of, but I kind of got a little bit of a earful on that. There's also how we doing in procuring housing for the homeless, so we can say we don't have a need for a pit count. I did get to go around with the Caltrans director, Director Tavares, very knowledgeable, and saw firsthand. First off, let me back up. Caltrans has certain criteria for each project, and building new roads is not one of them. It is building new bike lanes and pedestrian. But he saw the need of what we have, and he was given guidance on how we can get these projects moving forward. And again, it's building new roads, but and he understood that we're not San Francisco or LA where you have no more rooms to build new roads. So you can build bike paths. So he understands it doesn't one size fits all. So he's going to be working on some of our projects, most notably the North County corridor, especially when he went out to the LRA, saw what we're doing out there, and was impressed. With that, who's the alternate to Stan Cog? You are? We may be needing your services after tomorrow's meeting. With that, we're going to go into closed session consisting of item 13.1, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, potential number of cases, one potential case. Item 13.2, liability claims pursuant to Government Code Section 54961, claimant Harry S. Meeks, Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technology LLC, agency claim against City of Riverbank. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment on any of these going into closed session? Seeing none, we adjourn to closed session. You should see it. All right, thank you. The City Council LRA Board meeting now resumes. Report out from item on 14.1 on item 13.1, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation. Direction has been provided to staff. Item 14.2, report from closed session. Item 13.2, liability claims. And direction has been provided to staff. Our next council meeting will be February 28th, 2023 at 1800. This meeting is.
Mayor, just a moment, for the liability claim, you do need to reflect the vote.
Okay, on the liability claim, the vote was 5-0 to reject the claim. Good enough? This meeting is now adjourned.